If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
Being this rock star that you become now.
Dude, you got Lions fans here yelling your name. You're like Elvis, dude.
The fact that the game's close to Detroit will probably get some people down here, but Detroit fans are very resilient. You had to be a Lions fan for a long period of time, and they didn't have a whole lot of success for a long time, but once we got a good rain, that grass got green again, and it's very rare to stop for gas without hearing somebody say, Coach, I was in the stands in 1957, Thanksgiving Day at Tiger Stadium, watching Bobby Lane, and really want to thank you for giving us our Sundays back, and that's a good feeling. It's not just about the Lions, it's about the city of Detroit also. Who's the biggest star from Detroit here this weekend, you or Madonna? That's right. I forgot. Suburbs of Detroit, Rochester. The one thing about Madonna though, she never really went back. And I like Bob Seger and Kid Rock, two guys that are every bit as much icons in my mind as Madonna, and they choose to live in Detroit year round and raise their families there. And I respect that an awful lot. When you talk about two guys that can afford to live anywhere in the world that they want to live, two guys that have great catalogs of music. And both of them have spent their whole life in the city of Detroit. Is it fair? We talk about what the Ravens did for Baltimore when they showed up and where our city was in '96 and where our city, and you were there obviously at the beginning, and where the city has gotten to at this point. Are you starting to see, we know what happened in Detroit over the last few years, are you starting to see what the renaissance of the football team has done for the community in general? Yeah, I don't know if it's coincidence, but when I showed up in Detroit, the team was 0-16, and the big three were all in a lot of trouble, either mortgaging an awful lot or having bailout money and different things like that. And, as the Lions have been able to come back, the city of Detroit is also coming back, and the city's been through a lot of tough times. There have been situations that have occurred over the last 40 or 50 years that maybe a lot of other cities don't live through, but tough times don't last. Tough people do. There's tough people in the city, and they're great football fans, and the Red Wings have won championships, Pistons have won championships, Tigers in the World Series, back into the World Series, and and all those things, and the Lions are sort of and even the University of Michigan and Michigan State, two of the colleges that are there, all had great success. The Lions were sort of last in line there to reward the fans in the city of Detroit. And, hopefully we've taken a step to doing that.
As the pride of Mount St. Joe in Baltimore, as a kid that kept score at 79 Oriole games, as I know you did, as a kid whose father probably wept a bit when the Colts left town, as you sit next to Big Bob.
I did. I cried.
You cried?
Oh, there's no doubt I did. Yeah.
So,
I was a huge Baltimore Colt fan.
As we wake up here today in Indianapolis, knowing that guy, God rest his soul, is the reason this whole thing exists. I've been here for 4 days. I have never seen a city take to the Super Bowl the way this. There were 60,000 people in the streets on Wednesday night. There were 200,000 people down here last weekend. And honestly, I haven't seen but a handful of Giants or Patriot fans. They're not even here yet. They're just getting here today. What has happened here in Indianapolis, what that guy begat with the Mayflowers, and even the Renaissance back in Baltimore, as evil, as awful as it was, man, these are two thriving football communities now. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I wasn't fortunate to have gone to the Super Bowl in Detroit, so I never got to see the city of Detroit embrace that game, particularly on their home turf and Ford Field and things like that.
And with Bettis.
But yeah, hometown player and everything else. But, being a Baltimore guy and knowing what kind of sports town that is, and sort of seeing the cold weather Super Bowl in New York, all of a sudden change the dynamic of the Super Bowl. I imagine that, when the Ravens get a home Super Bowl, when Baltimore gets that Super Bowl, you'd see the city of Baltimore embrace it every bit as much as Indianapolis is here right now.
It's pandemonium. He's Jim Schwartz, head coach of the Detroit Lions. Coach, I'm going to forget to do it, so let me make sure I knock this out. You're here with 5 Hour Energy. What do you need to tell us about 5 Hour Energy?
You got 24-hour energy, man.
How can you need any more?
Well, I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't know how. I can't make it through the day, working 100 hours a day without something. I can't stand coffee unless it's got about 1,000 calories in it. So 5 Hour Energy, number one, it helps us make it through 16 games, helps us make it through long work weeks. Number two, it's a Detroit company. It's right there right outside of Detroit. And we talked a little bit about the auto industry and sports town that it is. It's not just that, and the success of the Lions sort of goes alongside of the economy of Detroit. We sold out every game this year at better suite sales than we've ever had, and things like that. And part of that is people in our local community and local businesses, and it's all very important to us.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.